Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to Bill's Seadoo Midlife Crisis. I am Bill, and today I am going to do a very small job, which I thought a few of you might find interesting, just to see how it's done. You might want to do it yourself. It's quite easy. I'm going to change the registration numbers on my GTX here. So first steps will be, let me swing around here. First steps will be, I'm going to take off this and this. Those were left over from, well, that's like a thing they put on us, a California low emission sticker. I'm going to take that off because there's some scratches around it. I'm going to take this Quinn's Marina off because I didn't deal with them. And I am then going to take these registration numbers off. And then I'm going to put these registration numbers on. And I redid those. I found, just to try to jazz it up a bit, I found the just the straight black ones. They look fine, but on the other side, they're more beat up, which is part of the reason I'm changing them. But I found, or I think, that those will look a bit better. And so just a small note on how I made these. I made these on my Cricut vinyl cutting machine. So first cut the, you do it in their software. You pick your font and you create it. These are not quite 3 inches, which is what they're supposed to be. And as you can see, they're a lot bigger than the substandard illegal 2-inch ones that are on there. Not that I think I'd ever have any trouble, but if I'm trying to follow the law, they're supposed to be 3 inches. So first you set it up in the software. So you first cut the black, and then you cut the white, which are obviously slightly smaller in proportion. And then what I do is I take the white ones off individually, and I slowly position them and stick them on individually, and then I put the transfer tape on top. And that's how I get them to look, relatively professional. So that's that. So first things first, I'm going to get all of the existing stuff off. Then I'm going to polish this area. I'll probably go from here around up here and over to about here. It's just so it's not a big, huge area. We'll get that done, and then we'll install these. So here we go. Okay, first step, heat gun. Take these numbers off. So we just heat them up, use my little plastic spatula to get them started, and then peel them off. And hopefully they come off easily. But we'll find out. Okay, so that's it. We got them all off. You can see the next step. This is still lots of glue on there and sticky. That one came off, not much at all. But what you can see is there's the original color. I don't know how well you can see that. I think you can. Original color. And then over here on the letters, the numbers, I should say, you can definitely see original color, faded. So that's just it's gel coat. It doesn't fade. It oxidizes. So getting a little bit chalky. So what I'm going to do, first step will be some Goo Gone to get the glue and residue off of there. And then we'll give it a good cleaning. And then we're going to have to use some compound to try to take down some of the oxidation on here. Even though it looks pretty good, it's going to look much better. And then we'll polish it. And then we'll put the new letters on. So stand by. We'll start with the Goo Gone. Okay, so first things first, I've just got a bottle of soapy water, just dish soap. And I'm just going to clean the area. Now I've got my sandpaper. So this is not an exact science, although there's some guidelines. How much you want to sand in terms of the grit, how aggressive, is kind of up to you. I don't want to take off much. I just want to take off the shadows of the previous, of the letters. And I just want to try to kind of blend them, take a little bit of gel coat off so I can buff up a nice shine that's uniform and doesn't have a difference between the letter, what was behind the letter and what was not. So I'm going to start with a 1500 disc. I'm just going to hand sand this. Then I'm going to go to 2000, 2500, and then 3000. And I found that if you don't go up to 3000 or at least 2500, I've gone up to 4000. It leaves scratches and little fine ones that you have to look close to see. But if you're trying to do a perfect job, it's not perfect if you don't go up. So I'm going to start at 1500 and then go up. But first thing first, I have to clean this, which I won't show, but just soapy water, a rag, and we're going to and get that going. So I'll clean it, then we'll get to the sanding. Okay, first pass with the 1500 wet sand. And again, you just kind of keep it wet, and you'll see you'll create like a little bit of a paste, and you know that it's working if that's happening. And so, kind of concentrating here on the area where the lettering was, but I'm going to give the whole area here a little bit of a sanding. I'm not going to do up here with the 1500. I'm going to save that for probably 2500 and 3000 because I don't really want to take a lot off of there, and I don't want to create more work than is necessary. Okay, so that's the first pass with the 1500, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, if at all, but when when you're up close and in person, you can still see the shadow really faintly of where the numbers were, and then down here where that logo, that marina logo was right here. So again, you can see it where the emission thing was. You can't really see because it was right here by these scratches, and the scratches I've taken down to, not much. You can see them a little bit, but no, not a big deal. So right here, you can probably see where I've stopped sanding, and you can see how I've, how the finish changes from where it hasn't been sanded into a has, gets more like more satin matte looking. So white gel coat is a bit of it's good and bad. So there's not sanded, and there's sanded, not sanded. So the thing about it is it looks pretty good even when it is oxidized, and this white is definitely oxidized, but it still looks pretty good. So when you go to sand it and you want to take, do what I'm doing today, which is try to bring the original color, take the oxidation off, and then let the original come through, you run into the risk of having to take off a lot of gel coat to get through the oxidized gel coat. So I'm going to opt not to take off too much of the oxidized gel coat and just buff up what I have because it looks really good. For that reason, you just don't want to take off that much gel coat. So I'm going to move to the 2025, and then I'll just show you a bit of the 3000. No sense of you watching me sand over and over and over. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back when I get to the 3000. Okay, for this step, I'm using my rotary polisher. I'm using just a cheap wool pad. These are like $4 or $5 a piece when you buy them in a little package on Amazon, and I found that they work great for applying compound and getting. They don't scratch much. They're not very aggressive, and but they do a nice job taking that last little bit of scratch off the machine, off the gel coat, and then leaving you a nice surface to polish. And I've tried different things. I've tried I have a better wool pad, and I've tried foam ones for the compound, and I found the better wool pad works great, but they're more expensive, and you wear them out. The cheap ones work not just as well, but they work well enough. And the foam pads didn't work as well. The foam pad worked way better for polishing, which is the next step. But this step, we're going to give it a compounding, and then we'll move on to polishing after that. So here we go. So just smear it on, and I probably will do this section and then that section and that individually. So I start out slow and then I speed up. Okay, then just clean microfiber and take it off, excess. And you're not zoomed in here. I'll zoom in a little bit to show you, but it's pretty nice and smooth. And again, you can see slightly where these things were before, but I know exactly where they were, so it's easy for me to see. Again, how much gel coat do you want to take off? in order to get things perfect on a 10-year-old ski. For me, I'd rather have a few imperfections and more gel coat to work with going down the road than having it perfectly uniform and having less gel coat. Okay, last step of the cleaning is the polish. So I'm just using a Meguiar standard boat polish. Does a good job. There's a million different polishes on the market. You know, you choose whatever one you want. This one's available to me easily up here in Canada. Canadian Tire sells it. It's definitely competitively priced, and it works pretty well, I found. So on it goes. I'm going to smear it, and we're just going to polish up here. Again, we're going to end up with, it looks good now after the compounding, but it's going to look even better after the polish, and then we'll put the letters on, and then we'll wax it. So definitely this stuff is a lot more, this stuff flings all over the place. So you want to cover what you don't want it to fling on, because it definitely does fling, unfortunately. So we'll start down slow, and we'll try to get it not to fling everywhere. As you can see, it does fling all over the place. So just a little bit more for the front here, and then we'll be done. Okay, so putting letters on, or any sort of decal, is really a matter of deciding where you want it and trying to make it look, lined up as best as possible. And for me, I think I prefer, where do I prefer these? I think I prefer them, center them with the, I'm definitely going along the rub rail. It's just a matter of where along the rub rail do I want. I think right here the body line kind of comes down, and it comes down right to the rub rail here. So I think it makes the most sense to put them up at the front so that they're not on this body line. So now it's just a matter of trying to decide how they go in terms of, this is straight, this is not. So you have to decide how you want to line them up. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit of masking tape and try to position them. So I'm going to try to position the bottom of the O and the bottom of the 0 the same across both sides, but I'm just kind of eyeballing it. So, and I'm going to tape it here in the middle, right here on this side of the 7. So like that. And then I'm going to put another piece over here, like so, and just to hold it like that. Okay, so I've got it on there the way I think it should be, lined up, and I've got it taped in the middle so that I can put this section on, and then I can do this section, and I can do them separately. And once I pull this off, I'm going to cut the backing paper and then put these back on, and that's how we do it. So I'm going to start by pulling this up and trying to carefully get this pulled off of the backing paper, and then I lay it back down. Okay, so this is a bit of this is probably the trickiest part, is getting this pulled off with the letters stuck to the transfer tape. At least I've found in the past it's been tricky, but the arts and craft people tell me you bend it like that right at the edge, and see, it does work. Not always, but it does work some of the time. Oh, this is coming off nice and easy, thank goodness. Like so, and my 4 is coming off. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, and let's see if I can get my 7 off. And you just have to be careful not to, come on, 7, not to let this touch anything to get anything underneath the letters. It's tricky. There we go. Okay, so now I have that. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to stick it over here just so it holds there for a second. And again, I'm going to cut this, keep that back down so it doesn't go anywhere. And now we're going to lay this back down slowly. And the transfer tape keeps it lined up. You just kind of don't put any pressure on it. The transfer tape just lays it back down in the right spot. Like so. All right, mission accomplished. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll take the transfer tape off. So now you can take this tape off because this transfer tape is holding it on. And okay, so there we go. Get rid of that. And this one. And now we can peel. We have to do this backwards, but actually pulling this paper off this way is a lot easier, as you can see. Again, you just want to hold it not super tight, but just tight enough so that it lays down. It doesn't distort in any way. So there we go. So now, just use this is my actual Cricut tool, but it can be any flat thing. It could be a credit card. Doesn't really matter. You just want to give this a good press in. Make sure those guys are as stuck as they can be, because you don't really want to have to push hard on them after you take the transfer tape off. But you do want to give them a good push, and you don't want to push the transfer tape so much as the transfer tape doesn't want to unstick, which is sometimes another thing that can happen. I am definitely no arts and craft expert, but because this is really the only arts and craft thing that I do. But okay, so I've got a little extra, which is a little, I'll call it a pro tip, but it's not really because I'm no pro. But leave a little extra transfer tape, because see how I didn't leave any extra? You need some to grab onto to pull this off. So you get this started. Easier said than done. Come on. Okay, and now you want to pull it back on itself as flat as possible, and that's, I don't know, sorry, I'm kind of blocking the way, but as flat as possible, and that leaves whatever your graphic is on your canvas and pulls off. If you pull this up, you tend to pull whatever it is off the canvas or whatever you're trying to stick it to. So this is the arts and craft tip. So here we go. Well, this is going about as well as it can go. It doesn't always for me. There we go. So there they are. And the last little bit to do will be I take a microfiber, and so just so I'm not rubbing this right on the letters, and give it one more push. Again, kind of gentle, because you can still like tear a corner off if you're not careful. But you don't have to go nuts. But again, you really do want to get these on there, and they should stay on basically as long as you want them to, unless they get hit or something, like a dock. Okay, there we go. Done. Okay, there we go. Now, the only other thing I will point out, you can see right there, there's like a little air bubble. And when you first put these on, sometimes there's a lot of them. This time there's hardly any. There's another one right there in my 0. And that they're on there, you're like, oh no, there's an air bubble. A lot of the time they will just the air will dissipate and then they'll be gone. Sometimes you have to take your little pick and poke a little mini hole in there to let the air out. But it's a good idea to wait, I don't know, even up to about a week to do that. Now here's just a quick comparison why I switched these. So here on the other side, there's how I got the original numbers. So they're not, they're okay, but as you can see, those ones are kind of beat up. But that looks good, looks okay. I think this looks quite a bit better. Anyway, you guys can let me know, but that's my little project for the morning. And then as far as the polishing goes, you know, it's going to be hard to tell on camera, but it looks really good. Nice and glossy, no scratches. And you know, now we'll put a wax on there, and maybe I'll give you one last look once I put the wax on. Okay, so as far as waxing goes, I use this one, the Meguiar's Flagship Marine Wax, Premium Marine Wax. People seem to like it. Seems to do a good job for me. Waxing is really easy on a jet ski because it's a small surface. But basically, all you do is take the wax, you work it in, and let it sit for a bit, and then you take it off. So I'll do a small area, show you. Actually, I'm going to do a big area, but I'll just show you because it takes a bit to sit, like 2 or 3 minutes. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this on the whole area that we just did. Here, I'll back this up so you can see. And this will, well, do a couple things. It'll make it more shiny, which is nice. But it will also make it so that the water beads and doesn't stick and doesn't leave watermarks, which, of course, these things are very susceptible to if they don't have some sort of wax or ceramic coating on them. You end up with a whole bunch of little water dots that look terrible. And, you know, some people couldn't care less about that, and other people, like me, really care about it. So it matters. Morning. Okay, so we'll just get this on by about the time I get all this on. The front will be ready to take off. So let's back it up a little, and here we go. So again, you just wipe off and then flip over, give it a little buff. I'm going to come back with a fresh microfiber and give it a bit of a buffing. Yeah, it looks nice. Okay, there we go. Job done. Thanks for watching.